remodelers and custom builders. Today we are covering pillar number 1 in the Remodeler growth framework, and that is attract. Attract is all about how do you start getting more of the right fit prospects to your brand and your website so that you can start to grow your business. Now, this is the framework that we've been using for over 15 years, and it has evolved over that period of time, but the basis of it has stayed the same. And so what we're going to walk through is the Remodeler growth framework. This is part 1. We're talking about attract. So how do we get more of the right people to your website, your business? We're going to go through the rest of the framework. So we're going to talk about convert, nurture, close, and measure in some upcoming videos. And this one is all about attract. So how do we get more of the right people to your website and your brand? It starts with the concept of this marketing bullseye. So we're going to start in the center. And in the center, as we build this out, we'll get to what the other rings are. But the center of your marketing and the marketing bullseye is your website. And the reason that is because in today's world, all roads lead back to the website. So if you are doing SEO work, people get back to your website. If you're running ads online, people get back to your website. If someone's driving through their neighborhood and they see your truck parked and they see your brand name, they're going to Google you and get to your website. If a friend tells them about your company, guess what? They're going to Google you and go to your website. So the website is the foundation for everything, all your marketing, and it sits at the very center of the bullseye. So let's talk about some important pieces of the website and how we can make sure that we set our foundation properly so that as we get to some of these outer rings here and start driving more and more people to our website, it actually does what we want it to do, which is engage leads, convert leads, and move people into the sales process. If we miss the steps here, then people come to your website and then they leave your website, and then it's pretty much game over. So let's talk about the important components of the website. So we have what we call the 3 C's. We have clarity, we have credibility, and we have conversion. So we've got our 3 C's, and sorry, you cannot read this that well, but that says credibility. Okay, so what is clarity? Let's use another color because we're going to get a lot of stuff going here. So clarity is the who, the what, the where, and the what next. So you have your website and somebody lands directly on your home page, your about page, your service page. They could land anywhere. We need to know who you are very quickly. So what is the company? And then immediately following, what do you do? So if somebody lands on your website and they're looking to do an addition and you do kitchens and baths and you don't do additions, we want that to be clear so that they actually go away. If you do additions, we want them to feel like they're in the right place. So if they land on your website, they want to do an addition and they can quickly see, wow, this is a company that does kitchens, whole homes, and additions. Awesome. What do I do? Where do you do that work? So what's your service area? What are the cities? What are the towns? What are all those locations? We need to make that clear. So if I'm the prospect, I land on your website, I'm in Colorado Springs, and it says, ABC Remodeling, we do additions in Colorado Springs. I'm going, great. I know I'm in the right spot. And then what next? So should I book a consultation? Should I contact you? What sort of action should I take? And we're going to unpack action as we go through this entire framework, but we need to give the prospect a next step. So this is clarity. We want to be very clear about what you do and what you do not do so that when somebody lands on your website, they know, I'm in the right spot, or this is wrong, I'm out of here. A good website will filter both in and out. It's not just about getting everyone in, right? If I'm coming to your website and I need my car repaired, you want me out of there. You don't want me to fill out a form and have you need to respond to me or anything like that. So clarity is super important. Now, credibility is where we can stack some proof. So this is going to be things like awards. This is going to be spotlights, testimonials, badges, reviews, and expectations. So I've landed on your website. I go, yep, I'm in the right spot. Now these things in the credibility bucket help determine if I will take the what next step, right? I'm thinking, do I want to contact this company? Well, wow, they've won these 10 awards. I jumped over to their project spotlight pages and wow, these look like pretty amazing projects. And one of those looks pretty similar to the one I want to do. I can see clips of testimonials, whether it's video or written. I can see some trust badges. Wow, they're really embedded in the industry, and I can see those associations, again, reviews. And now I know what to expect going through process page, explainers, FAQs, those types of things. So this is credibility. Clarity is, am I in the right spot? Credibility helps, do I take the next step? Do I continue moving forward with learning more about this company? And then conversion is step number 3. Now this is going to be strong, we call them calls to action or CTAs. And we're going to break this down when we get into pillar number 2, which is convert. But this is researching and ready. So stay tuned. We'll do a deep dive into that one when we get to convert. But for now, what we want to know is that the website is our foundation for everything. It needs to be clear. We need to build some credibility so that people do want to take the next step. And conversion is actually how do we get them to take the next step. So now we have a rock solid website. This becomes the center of our bullseye. We will take this. We'll get that going over here. Okay, so that is the website. That brings us to the next ring in our bullseye. Okay, so we need to start getting people to the website because it's set up, right? People know exactly who we are, what we do, where we do it, and they can take action. And we built some trust, so we know that they will want to take some action. So this ring right here is what we call owned traffic. Now, owned traffic is really a combination of, we've got our SEO, we've got our AI, and then our email list. On the web, as you create content, you rank in Google, you start to own what we call owning digital real estate. And so if I have been blogging for years, I've been optimizing my content, I've been building out my website, I've been making sure that I'm targeting the right keywords, I will start to rank in Google. And so somebody types something in, we pull up Google, and boom, there's my website. I own that little piece of digital real estate, which is why we call this owned traffic and owned digital real estate. I'm also starting to show up in AI searches because of that work. So this is a huge bucket here. We call it organic search or showing up organically. That means when somebody clicks on that, I don't have to pay. I've worked my way up to the top and I own that space. So I'm getting that traffic for free. Obviously, a lot of time, money, and effort goes into getting that spot, but now I don't have to pay for every single click. So that's why that's super important. The email list that you have, past customers, past leads, past prospects, your network of partners, vendors, anyone, this is also something you own. And the reason is you can, at any given point in time, go into an email tool. There's dozens and dozens of them. Could be HubSpot, could be MailChimp, could be your whatever CRM you're using. And you can send one email to dozens, hundreds, thousands of people. And it really doesn't cost you anything. And so that's why these are all in owned, because you have the ability to get this traffic for free. So let's talk about how we do this. So the first one is educate. This is the core premise of this bucket. The way we rank on Google is by creating content that's helpful, that's educational, and we're answering questions that people are typing in to Google. And so this is typically really got to fix my colors here. So this could be FAQs, and you can turn those into blog posts, but it's really just answering questions better than your competition. And this isn't just written content, this can be video content too. Typically when we're talking about SEO and we're talking about Google, but that also includes Bing, other search engines, but it also includes YouTube SEO. So if you are creating videos, video content shows up there. If you're creating blog posts, project spotlights, service pages, that's all written content. That's going to be a part of your website. That's going to help you rank here. And the basis for this is, how do I create helpful content so that when somebody does a search, they find my post, my project spotlight, whatever page on your website, and now they've made it from this ring back to the foundation of everything, which is your website. So this is how we start to own digital real estate. A couple other points here. We do want to have this content engage. Because if it's not engaging, people are going to bounce. And we also want to extend. And so when we create content, we want it to pull them in and have them interact in some way with it. Because if they hit your content, they're not impressed, they're out, they're gone. And extend is really about repurposing. So if you have written a blog post and you post it on your website and it's starting to move up in the rankings, you could also repurpose that into a video, and then you post the video on YouTube. You could also take some of that content that you've created and chop it up into FAQs. You could then repurpose it and send it to your email list. So there's a lot of ways that you can repurpose. And what this does is it starts to broaden your reach digitally. And this ring right here will actually start to expand. So the more keywords you rank for on Google, the more spots you're showing up in AI platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, the more places you rank on YouTube, this starts to grow. And your digital real estate that you own starts to expand, and you get a lot more traffic to your website. Okay, so that is owned. That is the owned ring. This one right over here. Okay, that brings us to our second ring, which is rented. All right. So rented traffic is going to be paid ads. Okay, so down here, we're going to talk about a few channels. We're going to go Google and Meta. Okay, so here we have Google Ads, and this is typically high intent. So the intent for these ads is up, meaning if somebody goes to Google and they type in kitchen remodeler in Colorado Springs, they probably have a high intent that they are looking to hire someone. Now on Meta, your intent is typically lower. Now that is just in the sense that people that are on Facebook and Instagram, they're just scrolling. We actually don't know what their intent is. And so typically we're catching people, they were doing something else, scrolling, following influencers, friends, family, and then we serve up an ad. And so we are trying to find the people that maybe are in the buying process. But generally, people don't go to this platform to find a remodeler. They go to Google to find a remodeler. So just know that both of these channels can work. You just have to approach them differently. This one, we're usually using keywords that we think tie into high intent, and we're trying to capture that that bottom 4% of the market that is like, I'm ready to start my project now meaning within a few weeks or a short time period. They're doing research, they're looking to connect with someone, cool, we want to scrape off that 4% that are ready to engage in the sales process. Now, in the 96%, This can be a channel where we can scoop a lot more of those people, and we may have to nurture them, which we're going to talk about that in pillar 3 a little bit more. But that is one of the main differences. Now, you can still capture some of those 4% of buyers on Meta, but again, you're going to have to approach it a little bit differently because they went to this platform with a different intent. They went there to for entertainment versus they're going to Google to solve a problem and start moving on their project. Okay, and the other thing we really need to keep in mind here is that the goal is to retain these people. And so what we want to do is capture an email. So here we have clicks that we are paying for. So all of this traffic, we have to pay for every single click to our website. This traffic, we do not. Because we're directly paying for this traffic, we want to make sure that we are capturing email addresses and capturing leads. That way, we convert it into owned. And so the way this works is we have rented, and then we can start to drive some of this bucket into this. And so that's another way that this ring will expand. So we've got our website. It's super clear. It's built to convert leads. We start working on ring number 1, which is how do we own more and more digital real estate. So as people are typing stuff in, they're finding us, and we're not having to pay for all of those clicks. This is typically that kind of long-term strategy to dominate your local market. Anybody's typing something in, you're showing up. Rented is paid ads. There is a part of this market that we're not capturing, so we can access more of the market through paid ads. We can do that on Google. We can also use Meta to reach more and more of our audience, but we're paying for every single click to our website. And so we want to make sure we are capturing email addresses here. That way we're moving some of that down into the closer to the center of the bullseye. Okay, and then finally, we have our last ring. And that is going to be earned. And so with earned, this is where we have stories, news, and third-party mentions. And so earned is a little bit similar, or at least connected to owned media, in that a good example of this might be you won an award, and then you got featured in the local newspaper. Now you have basically earned this attention, and you're going to earn yourself some traffic from this because the local newspaper did a little write-up on how you won this award, and it puts a spotlight on your brand and your company. People are going to see that, and then they're going to make it back to your website. They're either going to be able to click a link right from that article, or they're going to see your name, they're going to then Google you and end up right here. And so earned is what we do to get traffic from other sources. So it's not part of our website and what we own in terms of our digital real estate. We're not paying for this, right? We happen to do something awesome and somebody wrote about it, and so that attention starts to flow back to us. We have a lot less control over this, although there's definitely things that you can do to influence things like that. This could also be you are a speaker at an event, and so on that event page you have a bio and a write-up, and then there's another link or mention back to your website. The cool thing about earned too is that it actually helps influence SEO and AI and your ability to rank here. So they go hand in hand to a degree. This we typically talk about with things that are on your website related to things that you can directly control. And then this bucket is things that you can influence. So you can go make news about your company. You can try to win as many awards as possible. You can mention that to the local newspaper and local press. you can try to become a speaker at lots of events. You can get involved in your community and create stories. Maybe you get involved with Habitat for Humanity. Maybe you sponsor some Little League sports teams. And instead of just doing the bare minimum, you can actually do a write-up, try to see if somebody else will do a write-up and get stories and news being created about your company. And so that's what we talk about as earned, because typically you're doing something that is worthy of creating a story or creating news, and that's how you earn it. But it's not something that you can directly control on your website necessarily. And so the same concept applies here, is that as we're earning news and stories, some of this has kind of like a limited run. You won an award 2 years ago, that will kind of only last for so long, and it's kind of like, what have you done for me lately? And so we want to capitalize on that traffic, and as it makes its way back to the center, we want to capture as many people as we can onto our email list. And so as you're looking at this marketing bullseye and you're thinking, well, first of all, there's a lot of stuff and it can feel like a lot, but it doesn't need to feel overwhelming. We want to make sure we're starting with the website and a really, really strong foundation to make sure that we are set up so that as these things start flowing, right, we've got traffic that we're building, it's starting to drive towards the center, and we are capturing leads and converting more and more of those right fit prospects. Now, the cool thing about the center and this first ring is that as we drive more paid traffic in here and we convert more leads, this ring expands. And as our website starts to rank for more and more content, and we make it clearer and clearer, and we build out all of this helpful content on there, and it's converting lots of leads, that actually gets a lot stronger. And so this whole bullseye, the center starts to expand, and it gets easier and easier for your company to hit the bullseye, meaning easier and easier to both attract, convert, and close those right fit projects and right fit prospects. That's the whole point, is we want it to feel easier and easier to keep hitting the bullseye, meaning, man, we're just attracting, converting, and closing more of these right customers. So this framework and thinking about the marketing bullseye is what we found is that by thinking about it in these terms, it gives you a process for actually thinking through all of these random tactics. Because you think about, should I go apply for that award? Like, maybe, but should I be doing something else? Should I be running ads? Should I be working on my SEO? Like, there's so many things you can do for marketing. And so this gives you a little bit of a priority stack in terms of, well, we want to make sure this is solid. Then we want to start building this out. And then after that, I can try some of these other things, but now I know kind of where they sit. And if I am doing those things, I want to make sure that I'm actually making these two expand, which means I better be building this email list so that I can make it easier and easier to own more of my digital real estate and own my own prospect list, so that any given time, if I've got a couple of openings, I could maybe send kind of a promotional email or an offer or a nudge to thousands of people on my email list, and I could probably fill those slots if I really needed to. And that's the power of building up this channel. So just to recap, this is the Remodeler Growth Framework. Attract. The entire purpose of this phase is not enough people know about your business, and we need a process and a system for getting more of the right people back to your brand and your website. And in the next video, we're going to do a deep dive on how do we convert. Once we're getting all of this traffic flowing to us, we really want to make sure we're converting a high percentage into leads. So we'll talk about that in the next video. All right, guys, that is the Remodeler Growth Framework. Attract.